Can you respond to former President Trump announcing that he plans to run for re-election? And do you believe that will help or hinder your chances in the Georgia runoff?
The way I'm going to go into this presidential primary season is to stay out of it. I don't have a dog in that fight. I think it's going to be a highly contested nomination fight with other candidates entering, and it's all going to be quite good for you all to cover.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. Welcome to day 666. Donald Trump, the twice-impeached former president who tried to overturn the 2020 presidential election, encouraged a deadly insurrection at the Capitol, and the subject of multiple criminal investigations, officially filed to run for president for a third consecutive time.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Trump made the announcement from his home in Mar-a-Lago, despite some Republicans blaming him for the party's disappointing midterm election results. Trump said, quote, "We are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation for millions of Americans," adding that the, quote, "gravest threat to our civilization," end quote, is what he called the weaponization of the Justice Department and the FBI. Trump enters the race facing multiple ongoing civil and criminal investigations across multiple states related to tax fraud, his own efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and his mishandling of classified documents stored at Mar-a-Lago. Moving on, the Senate advanced bipartisan legislation to protect same-sex marriage. In a 62-37 vote, 12 Republicans voted with all of the Democrats to end debate on the bill and advance the Respect for Marriage Act, which would enshrine same-sex marriage protections into federal law. The bill also repeals the 1996 Defense of Marriage Act, which defined marriage as one man and one woman, and allowed states to decline to recognize same-sex marriages performed in other states. In May, 71% of Americans said they supported legal same-sex marriage, up from 27% in 1996. A final Senate vote could happen this week, which would send the amended version of the bill to the House for one last vote before it heads to Biden's desk to be signed into law. Meanwhile, a judge overturned Georgia's 6-week abortion ban, ruling that the key parts of the law were, quote, "plainly unconstitutional when drafted, voted upon, and enacted," end quote. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney noted that because the law was enacted before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned its 1973 decision in Roe v. Wade, the ban must be evaluated using a 2019 lens. As a result, abortions will, for the first time since July, be legal in Georgia until up to 22 weeks of pregnancy, effective immediately. The Georgia Attorney General's office immediately filed an appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court. A different federal judge struck down a Trump-era policy used to expel more than 1 million migrants at the nation's southern border. The Trump administration first issued the Title 42 policy in 2020 at the outset of the coronavirus pandemic to stop the introduction of contagious diseases in the United States. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan said the order was, quote, "arbitrary and capricious in violation of the Administrative Procedure Act," end quote, arguing that the policy had little proven benefit to public health and hasn't been updated to align with the present state of the pandemic or the availability of vaccines and treatment options. The order will go into effect on December 21st. And finally, the Biden administration warned of an historically large increase in federal student loan delinquency and defaults without Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. The Department of Education stopped accepting applications for the student loan forgiveness plan last week after a judge in Texas called the policy unconstitutional and struck it down. Roughly 18 million borrowers are eligible to have their federal student loans discharged in their entirety under the program. These same borrowers are most in jeopardy of defaulting. About 60% of borrowers who qualified for forbearance haven't made a single payment since August 2020. Payments, however, are set to resume on January 1st, 2023, unless Biden extends the pause on repayments again. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.
And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim.